What's good, everybody? This is James Bush with another episode of the Random Ramble. I am one half of Bush Counseling Services, and I'm about to get right into it. Before we get started, well, again, my title is African Americans and Mental Health. Simple, cut and dry, as easy as that. So before I get started, if you like and enjoy these type of rambling topics, text 31996 Ramble. Ramble to 31966. 31996. I done jacked out all up again. What's going on, PJ Porter? How you doing, Charity? And with that text or subscribe, you will get a one free 15-minute consultation with yours truly. So to get started in this, about a year ago or so, about a year and a half ago, DeRay Davis, he's the comedian, he was on The Breakfast Club. What's going on, West Nash Crowder? He was on The Breakfast Club, and he was talking about some of his projects that he was doing. He also was discussing some of the sexual assault that he had in his lives with, I guess, maybe two older women. And what he was saying was that he necessarily didn't go and get therapy for that situation because he made a comment, black people don't do therapy, pretty much cut and dry and simple. And so this is a comment that generally has echoed out throughout maybe the last 30 or 40 odd years from what my perspective was as well. It's that black people do not go and sit on the couch, Freudian style, and talk to people about their issues. However, I have a little bit of a different argument with that. So I came up with about maybe 3 bullet points that I'm going to share with you. One of them was that we did talk to people. It just wasn't therapists. It was the pastors. It was the deacons. It was the elders. It was the bishops. It was people that were involved in our church community, our clergy. Those are who we talked to. Those are who we laid all of our issues and our problems on. The only thing about that was that they weren't trained clinicians. They were pastors. They were preachers. They didn't go through the 3 years of school. They didn't do the internships. They didn't go and do the practicums and all the other kind of stuff. They didn't get a course in diagnosis or anything like that. They know more about the Bible than they do about major depressive disorder, anything like that, or the DSM. So we did have somebody to talk to. We just didn't use a trained clinician. Okay, so that's one thing. And then along with that, we used other friends and support systems. How you doing? Thank you, Lula, for tuning in. Thank you. And so with that, we have a lot of what we have today as far as interventions, the lack of interventions and modalities that were introduced to us that possibly could have been beneficial. So that's one thing. The second thing was that barriers. There have been many barriers to not just African Americans, but people seeking clinical services. Sometimes when I'm working with a client and they will, now Charity, I did not take your topic. But sometimes when I'm working with a client, what I'll see is that I'll get their insurance card. And so from the insurance card, I'll go and I'll call the insurance company and say, okay, have they met the deductible? What does the deductible look like? Is there a copay? And for some, their deductibles are just ridiculous, like $8,500 deductible that they have to pay before insurance starts kicking in on services. And it's amazing, but it's the reality of our society that with healthcare, we pay a lot in premiums and things like that, but not a lot of people are fully aware or learning about what their insurance actually entails or what it will provide for you. So because of that, people that want services, that need services, generally don't get them because they can't afford them. So that's a barrier. Also, are you credentialed with OpenPath? No, Charity, I didn't do that. I actually looked at it before, but I didn't go and fill out the rest of the documentation. They can pay $49. I know, Charity. I said it. I looked at it, but I didn't do it. But anyway, so there's a lot of different barriers that come along with that, as well as transportation issues, infrastructure. I know sometimes in some of the cities that I'm looking at, if you are in the rural communities and you still want access to these different services, you would have to drive all the way into the city where many of the clinicians are located at and where their offices are. And so with that, that becomes a barrier, because if you don't have the means of transportation to do so, then that's just a lot of times on you. That would suck. So barriers is the second bullet point. The last point that I was going to make was that there were not many therapists that looked like African Americans. In the Washington Post, they did a story in 2013. They said that there was a rise in African American therapists, a 20 to 25% rise in African American therapists that were coming out. So that was a great thing. But if you look back beyond that time, there weren't a lot of people that look like persons of color. And so because of that, that would make some black men or some black women more skeptical of talking and working through some of those difficult things they were going through with a person of the opposite culture. And rightfully so. I mean, because of the history that we have, and epigenetics that goes in along with this too. If you've understand anything about adverse childhood experiences, is that plays out a lot in of the mistrust of why we feel the way we feel about that. And so definitely, because there weren't a lot of black therapists in the area or so, or just period, there wasn't anything that promoted that idea, or there wasn't a race to seek out that type of aid in that type of way, because it just wasn't there. You know, we knew about the pastors, I guess, again. We knew about the deacons, but because we didn't see a lot of people who looked like us or so, that's why those things kind of played out the way they have. So again, those are three things, that bullet points that I wanted to share with you guys this evening. And for more on this topic and topics like this, visit us at bushcounselingservices.com. That is bushcounselingservices.com. Also, you can text Ramble, R-A-M-B-L-E, to 31996. That is Ramble to 31996. And you can set up one free session, not free session, it's a 15-minute consultation with yours truly. You guys take it easy.